tryna say I'm only in the meeting. Got a code with my dogs, can get in between. I can give them life, no more energy. Amen. Amen.
Welcome everybody. I'll wait for some people to roll in here before we get this thing going. We got some big news. The site is finally available for everybody. So I'm excited to share this with you guys, and I want to make sure we're getting this out to as many people as possible. But I'll get this thing going as people start to roll in and say, my first play that I'm on is now I'm blanking on it. Give me 1 second to pull it up real quick. Welcome. I see some people rolling in. How are we doing, everybody? Tony Pollard under rushing attempts. That's what it is. So let me pull that up for you guys as we get people rolling in. And for those who are joining, we got, as you can see on the bottom, you can get access to the new website. Just shoot me a DM on either the Dr. Profit account or the MCA account, or you can just scan that little QR code on the bottom right. You guys can do it either way you want, but I hope everybody is having a great Saturday. So I'll go through a little bit on my Tony Pollard play. Well, that's not good. Because that is my first play of the day. So rush attempts, here we are. Pollard or Spears. What is going on? Let me figure this out for a second real quick. But until then, as always, if anybody has players they want me to look up, I can do that as well. I need to go back to the beginning. Oh, I was logged in on the wrong account. That's why. We're testing too many things out. That's the issue. Or we were, and I was just logged in on the wrong account. Congrats on the engagement. Appreciate you. Appreciate it. It was big things coming on back to back. Obviously had the engagement, got to celebrate that for a little bit. And now I am back and I get to share this website with you guys. So rushing attempts. Here we are. And I got this line at 14.5, I will say. So it's bumped down to 13.5 on some places. I still like it there as long as it's like minus 105 or plus money. If it gets like minus 15, it's not worth it as much. But as you can see, started off the year with a lot of usage, down to just 14 attempts in the last two games. And two big things have happened. One, they're trying to lean more into the screen game. Tony, how are we doing, man? How are we doing? But yeah, first thing is they're trying to lean more in the screen game, and it turns some rush attempts into pass attempts to the running back and receptions. The other thing is in this Arizona game, Tyjae Spears is back, which has reduced his usage a little bit. We can see in 2024 a little bit. Let's see if it's working here. There we go. So in games with Tyjae Spears, he was under this line in 5 of 11 games. I think there were 2 of these games that Tyjae Spears got hurt in. Obviously, they were did not have a quarterback that they liked as much, so they were trying to lean on the run more. So take that, I'll say, with a grain of salt. But he also gets a defense that packs the box. This number 32 number, percentage of rushing attempts with 7 or more players in the box. Number 32 means they stack the box the most. So if a team is stacking the box, what's the most logical thing to do? Pass the ball, because that means everybody else has less defenders in the secondary. So that's what I expect them to do. One thing we can do here on this website is we can filter for, and this is something that no other website has. So again, if you're not on the site and you want to have access to this stuff, this is how you do it. But right now we're looking at all games. If I want to filter for just games where he's playing against the top half of the league in stacked box, right, I can do that here. And now we're looking at still just 3 of 7. But again, just showing you some of the capabilities of this website. Or if we wanted to do rushing yards per attempt allowed, number 9 means they're allowing the 9th least. So again, I can come filter for here. When they face an above average defense with Tyjae Spears, he had 9 or less attempts in 2 of the 3 games. And this one was Indiana, which I can see if Tyjae Spears got injured in that game real quick. I can't do it on this website, but I can pull it up on a separate tab and check for you guys. But as I go through this, if anybody has any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. It's why I'm doing these streams. I want to be able to share my information and the website with you guys. So pulling it up on this one. I need to see what game that India 10-13. So let me see. Ten, 13, 2, 3, 4. It looks like week 6. If I did my accounting right. Yep. So in week 6, yeah, Tyjae Spears only 20% of snaps, significantly lower than any game that year. You have to think Tyjae Spears got hurt here. Can you have a look at golden yards for me, please? Particularly eyeing his longest reception. Absolutely. Let me pull that up. Players. So here's where I think this is another really simple thing that I feel like no other website has, is you can see how many targets they've had of 7+ yards in the air or 4+ yards in the air. So Matthew Golden has had 14 targets this season. 4 of them have been for 20 or more air yards. That's a pretty good ratio. Over half of them have been for 10+ air yards. I can check what his line is for longest reception as well. This part is not my site. This is OddsJam. But all right, so 21.5, that's what you're looking at. So if you're getting, how many targets do you think he's getting, Tony? Let's project that real quick. Because if 30% of his targets are going for 20+ air yards and his line is at 21.5, I think he's getting 4 to 6 targets. That's pretty much in your favor that he at least gets a deep shot. And if half of them are going for 10+ yards, especially if you get one within the 15 to 20 yard range, now you're looking at some yak opportunity. It's in your favor. And one thing we can do here is we can check. Let me get Tyjae Spears out of here and refresh. So Matthew Golden, we can't check longest reception props on here. We're still working on adding that. But you see we have him projected 46.74 receiving yards, 3.5 receptions. And he's had 58 and 52 in his last 2 games. Obviously, Jaden Reed going down does help this. And we can see his air yards in each game, and it looks pretty good. 10 yards in his first game, not really worried about that. Then 81 yards against Washington with 81 air yards with 0 receptions. If I remember watching that game, Jordan Love missed him. He probably should have had at least 40 in that game. He had he should have had probably 100. He missed him on a house call on an 80-yard reception where he'd already dusted the whole defense, and then another 35-yard touchdown. Cleveland, 52 yards against a good Cleveland defense. That was a game where he had a catch, and if he kept his balance, he would have ran free down the sideline for a 90-yard touchdown probably, but ran straight out of bounds. Still had 52 yards. Dallas, 64 air yards, 58 actual yards. We can see his routes run, obviously. Again, that week 1 game, not really worried about it. Only 14 routes, 10 air yards. But I mean, this is pretty solid stuff. He's almost doubling his routes run and air yards every game. That's pretty promising. And then if we want to check his targets of 15+ yards, we have 1 in every game except that Detroit game, 2 in the Washington and Dallas games. So all that is pretty damn favorable. And obviously Cincinnati is Cincinnati. One thing I will say is we can come here. Cincinnati is pretty average in air yards per game allowed, but the second most yards after the reception allowed. for a guy that we're saying is pretty much locked in for 2 deeper targets, 21.5 yards is not a lot. I know I watched that Detroit Lions game. They ran an unusual amount of too high because of Jameson Williams. I don't think they're going to give Matthew Golden that same treatment. So, yeah, 3rd most passing yards per game allowed, 7th most yards per completion allowed, 2nd most. I think this is yards after the reception allowed. It's looking like a disaster, and we know they're not great overall in rushing defense. So it'll open up the play action game as a lot. Also have this potential write-up. Love sees the 2nd highest percent of his passing production coming from yards after the catch. The Bengals have allowed the 2nd most yards after catch per reception in the NFL this far, at 7.19. Yeah, so it does work out in Golden's favor. It's just you need him and Love to connect on those 1 or 2 deep shots. All right, let's keep going through this board. I'm going to go game by game here. So I'm going to do the Broncos and Jets in a video with JJ because it's an international game. You guys know how we take care of the primetime games. But next we'll go to Rams and Ravens. And one thing I want to talk about here is the usage of the Rams wide receivers, because as you can see, Puka Nacua and Devonta Adams rank 2nd and 4th in targets of 10 plus air yards in the NFL. The offense is very fun to those guys, and we know that the Ravens defense has not been good. They've lost some important pieces. I think Puka Nacua's lines have already gotten a little too high. I'll pull him up here. I think last I checked it was at 100.5, so it's steamed down a little bit. But it's one of those things where if you're taking him to get 100 yards, you might as well just take his all line at like 125 and anticipate a big game. Same with the 8.5 receptions. I think where we could get interesting is the Devonta Adams lines, because it feels like the books know that he's getting good production, but he's also still the wide receiver 2 on the offense. So like, how high can we really make his lines? So that's what we can check out here. What did it say the line was? 62.5, 64.5. So we'll make that. That's another thing that we're adding here real soon is adding the lines on the screen here. So Devonta Adams, 5 games, only over in 2 of the 5 games, but all 5 games he's had 50 plus yards. And if we want to come here, again, Baltimore pass defense has not been good. 4th most passing yards per game allowed. Somehow, again, still 50 plus yards. Somehow Devonta Adams has not been doing as good in these games. What we can check is yards per completion. They're pretty low as well. But air yards per game allowed, more or less the same. So it looks like when those deeper targets come, they're either only coming in fewer chunks, which is why if I were to play Devonta Adams, I think I'd like longest reception, or they're just all going to Puka Nacua. Yards after reception allowed, they rank 6th. So for the Ravens, you're basically saying, hey, you're catching it deep, but you're not going anywhere after. And then their run defense hasn't been good. So that's one thing that goes in Devonta Adams' favor, is kind of like I said with Golden, is if they can get that run game going, then the pass game opens up in the play action game. And then that's where you see Devonta Adams with his biggest games. If you filter out like the top 10 defenses, let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if you filter out the top 10 rushing defenses and rushing yards per game allowed, we're left with the 49ers, the Colts, and the Titans. And that's where we've seen Devonta Adams have 2 of his 3 biggest games. So I think that's an interesting angle to look at in this one, is the Devonta Adams side or Matthew Stafford longest completion. On the Ravens side, what I think we can do is I want to look at Zay Flowers, because Tyler Huntley should be the quarterback in this one, I believe was the last report I saw. Let me check if that's changed real quick. Oh God, Tyler Huntley. I know they brought him up. I don't know if he's supposed to be starting. So if it's Tyler Huntley, I like Zay Flowers in this one because his usage is really good. If we look at the games pre-Lamar injury, 9 targets, 11 targets, and then 3 in this game where, I mean, there was just not many targets to go around, period. So something to keep in mind because I'm not a big Cooper Rush believer, and I think if he gets benched, we see some of this usage go back up of 20 targets in 2 games. And that was on only 54 routes run. Obviously, we're expecting them to be losing, so that should be even higher. And air yards, 91 and 134 air yards. I mean, Zay Flowers is good. He gets open. They want to use him. It's that simple. I don't think either of those are going to be official plays for me. Where we could get some action is Derrick Henry props. I don't know how much they've moved since I was last looking at them, so I'll pull that up. 15.5 rushing attempts on MGM, 16.5 everywhere else. If I look at his yards, we're looking at 72.5. So let me pull that up because I believe the Rams also run very light boxes. Very light boxes. So let me pull that up for you guys as well. And again, if you're in here and you haven't already, you can get access to this new site that I'm using. This is not something I'm paid to promote. This is my site that I wanted to build out for you guys. So highly recommend getting on this. You guys are right now the only ones that are going to be able to get access to this for the time being if you're in the stream. So get on that if you haven't already, and then we can rock. So rushing yards, again, his line is 72.5. Obviously, has not looked good so far. Let me adjust this up to 72.5. Great week 1, then basically playing from behind and then playing without Lamar Jackson. And now he gets an LA defense that, although they rank 3rd in the NFL in lowest rushing yards per attempt, they also have the 6th highest light box rate. So I don't know how likely that is to sustain. And the only truly bad rushing defense he's seen is Buffalo. That was week 1. He got 170 yards. If we want to see how he did last year in the same circumstances, we can pull that up as well. And rushing yards. So overall, again, last season was different. He was over this line in 15 of 19 games, averaging 115 rushing yards. Obviously an animal. Then if we filter for light boxes, only missing 1 game, Kansas City as well. That was a big Lamar game. So I guess the light boxes don't seem to make that big of a difference for him when you filter for that in. And then if we filter for how good the rushing defense is, yeah, the average does come down a bit. And it's carried by divisional games too. So maybe it's not worth it, but I did think it was intriguing, something to think about. All right, we can go into the next game here. And we got Patriots and Saints. This is something that I saw with Drake May going into last game. Obviously, it didn't work out, but I think it was a lot more of a outlier scenario than otherwise because they put a spy on him. And one thing that I want to talk about is his rushing yards because we get a 20.5 yard line. I believe that's what it was last I checked. He's only over this in 2 of 5 games. However, New Orleans ranks 12th in passing yards per game allowed. If you filter for the obviously easy matchups, I mean, he soars. To his 2 biggest games were against bad passing defenses. If we want to look at 2024, we can do that as well. And rushing yards. Again, you filter out for the lowest teams or the worst passing defense teams where it basically forces him to make some extra stuff happen. He's going over pretty much every time. So I do like Drake May rushing yards this week. I think it's a good buy low spot. They did hang a much lower line than usual after a couple misses. But again, those couple misses came against a Carolina team that's terrible against the pass, so you might as well throw it. A Buffalo team that put a spy on him the whole game, and the Raiders who have Max Crosby, and it's tough to scramble against Max Crosby. And where I think we can get even more information is looking at how other quarterbacks have done in this New Orleans Saints matchup. Jackson Dart, Josh Allen, both quarterbacks that scramble a lot, 55 and 45 rushing yards. Kyler Murray, 38 rushing yards. And then Mac Jones, Darnold, Drew Lock, Jalen Monroe was hardly playing. So this was, this is all Seattle quarterbacks. I was about to say, how did these two play? It must have been that. I think that was a big blowout game. But yeah, the scrambling quarterbacks had no problem getting chunk yardage against this team. So I don't know why it wouldn't be the same for Drake May here. That actually might be a play that I think I'm going to add. We'll see after this stream. Let's figure this out right now. So what was I going to do? Let's check 2024 against the Saints. Actually, it's a completely different defense because Dennis Allen was the coach there, and he was basically calling the defense. So don't trust that as much to look at 2024. But I like it. And let's see. We haven't projected 35.25 rush yards. I'm absolutely playing Drake May rushing yards. So I can send that out to the win. That's another benefit to being in the stream is if I find a play on the stream that I'm going to send to the winnable, you guys get to see it first. So, and then I was looking at something yesterday as well. I don't know how many of you guys have seen the Sumer Brain. This is something that I'm probably going to add to the site down the line, but I don't know how soon. Is like an AI chatbot that spits out stats. So let's see. Why does it say 2023? 2025 season, 2025. Yeah, I don't know where 2023 was ever discussed. So he's getting the Saints defense. And let's check where the Saints rank. In pressure to escape ratio, the Saints are 25th. So that's the 8th highest. And then Drake May, in terms of scramble percentage when under pressure, 15 scrambles on 61 pressures. That's really damn good. And then one thing that I've liked to look at is sack rate to scramble, or sack rate compared to pressure rate, because it kind of puts into perspective. It's like, oh, if the defense is getting pressure to the quarterback, it forces them to break out. But if they're not finishing sacks, then like it's easy to go scramble at that point. So if I go look at pressure rate, we can see that New Orleans ranks, they have the second lowest pressure rate in the NFL. That's really not good. And then sack rate, they have the, 13th highest. That's an interesting one. As a defense. Let me see their pressure rate on, or their sack rate on pressures. May at 20.5 rushing on sleeper. I like it. I really do. So this is weird. The Saints are forcing the highest sack rate on pressures this season, which is normally not good. Let me check blitzes, because if they're not blitzing, then I like it. Where's blitz rate? Because quarterbacks tend to not scramble on blitzes. They just don't have the time to recognize where it's broken down and break out from there. So they have the 8th highest blitz rate. This is weird. I'm curious how. Let me see if it's like all focused on specific games, because it shouldn't be that. Like, to have these quarterbacks having good rushing games, but then having these stats doesn't really make too much sense. Let's see. New Orleans. First pressure. Their sack rates versus Josh Allen and Kyler Murray was surprisingly high. Blitz rate against Josh Allen was really high. Josh Allen, Kyler, and Jackson Dart all had 3, 5, and 3 scrambles. Let me see how many designed runs they had. Run types. Because if the designed runs is what carried it, then it's not worth it. Kyler had 4, Dart had 2, Josh Allen only had 1. So that's definitely something odd, I'll say. So they allowed a 15-yard rushing attempt to those only Josh Allen design run. 5 designed rushing yards to Kyler, 11 to Jackson Dart. On scrambles, they did damage on the scrambles, which is honestly what we want. It's just a matter of how many scrambles do we get. So maybe the longest rush is the better prop here if we're worried about volume. Because if I check, I know what I can check. Let me check yards per carry on scrambles. It looks like it's going to be damn high. Yeah, 9.8 yards per carry on scrambles. That ranks 7th highest for New Orleans. EPA per attempt, 0.917. That's 4th highest. So that's what you're banking on with Drake May. Let me check if he normally gets designed rushes or if it's really just all been scrambles. Run types. ETN under rushing. I'll check on that in a second as well. Yeah, so of Drake May's 21 rush attempts, 17 of them have been scrambles. That is what we want. I think it's worth a look. If his longest rush is anything under than 10, I'll play that. 11.5. So at that point, 5.5 juiced under. So if we're getting 5 rush attempts, I think we'll get at least one 10-yarder. Then we need 12 yards on the other 4. I think I like that. So Drake May, rush attempts, that's a big lean right there. And then let me check on ETN under rushing real quick, since that was a request by Tony in the chat. ETN's tough because he's been chewing on explosive rushes. It's not been like a consistent high success rate on his rush attempts as a whole. So 14.5 rushing attempts, 59.5 rushing yards, 61.5 if you want the under. And he gets a Seattle defense. We haven't projected 65.15 rushing yards here for what it's worth. But let's do this. You like this PSG top? Yeah, this is what I got in Paris. I got the jersey underneath it too, but no, I love this shirt. Okay, so ETN obviously over in 3 of 5 games here, under versus Kansas City and Houston, over against the 49ers, the Bengals, and the Panthers. Seattle's allowing the 3rd least rushing yards per game. ETN has had some cupcake matchups, my God. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you remove matchups against the worst 7 rushing defenses, The only one he's gone over against is Carolina. And I'm not going to act like I believe Carolina is actually a good rushing defense. If we go by rushing yards per attempt, again, big. He's just had cupcake matchups. Oh my God. That's a snipe, Tony. My goodness. The only concern would be, even though they're good at it, like it's kind of like the Rams, they play light boxes. If you filter for his games against light boxes, 124 and 143. So that, I will say, that's not what you want to see if you're betting the under. I would personally stay away because I think targeting light or dark boxes is a big thing for a play caller, and that might change things. In those games, he had 19 and 16 rushing attempts, which were his 2 games with the most rushing attempts. I'm probably staying away. I see the vision, but that is concerning. So I'll say that. What was we were looking at New England and the Saints. The other one that I wanted to check on was Rashid Shaheed, because his research is starting to become very similar given his role. Of his how many targets? 30 targets. 14 of them have been for 10 plus air yards. 6 of them have been for 20 plus. 11.17 air yards per target. 13.1 receiving yards per reception. He, in an offense that doesn't do too much down the field work, he's their down the field guy, and Olave has been soaking up all the quick targets. But the air yards look damn good. 79, 56, 68, 47, 85 for a guy who has a line of Olave. I was about to say his line is way higher than I thought it was. 45.5. I'll say still higher than I thought it was. We got Bungalow asking, does this stuff have all the stats from Fantasy Points and FTN? They have a lot of the same stats. This is just from FTN though. That's who supplies our stats for the website. So if you notice anything different from Fantasy Points, that's why. Some of it, like defensive coverages, for an example, isn't an exact science. It's kind of in the eye of the beholder for stuff like the difference between cover 1 and cover 3, or the difference between cover 2 and cover 4. There's some plays you can kind of count as either one, and different sites will have different results there. So just something to keep in mind if you're using both of those sites. But overall, you'll get the same gist. Like New England ranks 3rd most in cover 1. They're not going to rank 3rd lowest on Fantasy Points. Like it should still be somewhere close. But let's get to this one. So 45.5 was his line, if I'm remembering correctly. Yep. If you're looking at the over this season, he had a 77-yard house call or something last game. But he's been 40 plus in each of his last 4 games. If we want to filter for defenses that run a lot of cover 1, his 2 biggest games go out the window. However, if we want to filter for games against teams that allow yards after reception, which the Patriots do, you're looking at over in 3 of 4, with the only miss being Arizona. If you want to filter for teams against good rushing defenses, they have yet to face an above average rushing defense. That's nuts, actually. Passing yards per game allowed, we filter those out. If we filter out some of them, if we filter out the best ones, we're filtering out Seattle and Buffalo. And you're left with the Giants, big game, San Francisco, 52 yards, and Arizona, week 1. What else can we work with? They stack the box, so that opens up some downfield stuff, which has not really been the case for them as much, but they haven't faced a team that does that at an above average rate. So that's how you can use it here. I would look at 2024. You can look at seasons back all the way back to 2019, but New quarterback, new coaches, new play callers. I'm kind of staying away. I don't really think it's useful to look at 2024. What else can we look at? Let's go look at Stefon Diggs, because I think everybody kind of wants to bet on him after he dominated in prime time, right? So let's go look at that real quick. Let's go start with receptions, because he's at 4.5. And if we go to routes run, 25 routes run versus Buffalo, 35 versus the Raiders, 17 in each game so far this season. His targets, 7+ in 3 of the 5 games. That's pretty good for a guy whose line is 4.5. If we go look at some of these possession receivers in the same matchup, what you can do, we need to update this similar player tab. We had it last year. Just kind of bracket. Like if you're looking here, Keon Coleman and Stefon Diggs run completely different route trees, have completely different roles in the offense. So Keon Coleman getting 3 receptions or 17 receptions in this matchup doesn't make as much of a difference. Khalil Shakir, who we need to move into that category, got 5. Again, Ricky Pearsall, more deep targets, doesn't matter as much. But then we come here, Wan'Dale Robinson, possession receiver out of the slot, 5 targets. Jackson Smith-Njigba has broadened his tree a little bit last year when he was with Lockett and Metcalf. He fit this bill. He got 5. Cooper Kupp does fit this bill. He only got 2. Juwan Jennings, 5. So just gives you an idea on how these guys have fit into the offense, or fit against this defense, I should say. So Stefon Diggs was a popular one. Don't really want to play the roulette game with the Patriots running backs personally. If you wanted to look into the Saints, we could go look at Kamara since he's on the trading block. He's starting to lose work to Kendre Miller. So we can see, 1, how the matchup fits him, and 2, how he kind of does with that kind of usage. So last game, he only got 8 rush attempts. Versus Buffalo, he got 15. I can check what percentage of the snaps that was as well to get a better idea. 2025, New Orleans Saints, here you are. So that 15 rush attempts was only 50% of the rushing share. So let's, against the Patriots, I'm going to max him out at 15 rush attempts. Let's see how he does against this rushing yard line. Kamara rush yards. Again, for anybody who's popping in new, this site right here, I'm not being paid to promote it. This is my website. I built it for not only my use, but your guys' use. Today is the first day that it's really live to the public. So I'm giving it out on this stream first. So if you guys are watching this, you get exclusive access to this for the time being. If you want access to it and you want to go and subscribe, you can either scan the QR code on the screen or just DM me. It's called Masterclass Analytics, and I'll get you guys hooked up with everything you need to know. And like I said, it's my website. So if you guys have any problems or anything like that, just shoot me a DM. That this is, like, I've been building this for a while. I'm here to help you guys. I'm as accessible to you guys as I can be. So just let me know. Not here trying to take anything from you guys. I wanted to build a proper product for you guys to help you guys win bets. But let's get into Kamara. So Kamara with 15 or less rush attempts, 36.5 rushing yards is his. Oh, that's receiving yard. No, that's right. I know he's losing work, but goddamn, 36.5 rushing yards. The site hasn't projected 59.18. That feels a little bit aggressive. But goddamn, what's the rushing attempts they have him at? 9.5. I guess that's not crazy, but geez. Let's do less than 13 rush attempts, and we'll go back to 2024. And rushing yards. Yeah, that is real low. So in 5 games last year with 12 or 13 or less rush attempts, he was under this line in 3 of 5 games. Went over against Tampa, which is surprising because that's a tough matchup, and Chargers at 67. But if you think he's getting 7 even, that's very low. That's very surprising to me. What's his receptions line at? 'Cause we got him projected 2.26. There is a 3.5 with juice out there. His routes are still high. I'm puzzled by this one. Let's see what the matchup's looking like. So rushing stats are near the bottom. They're stacking the box a lot. Their rushing yards after contact per attempt is low. 4th lowest rushing yards per attempt. 4th lowest rushing yards per game. I'm starting to understand it a little bit better. I'll say I disagree with this projection. But obviously this is math. So depends on whether you trust the math or the brain more. But they might have priced it right. I'll say I do like his. What's his receiving yards? 18.5. That's still tempting to me. We need to add a routes run tab to this. I'll tell the tech team to do that. For a team that runs as much too high as they do, I don't know. Probably gonna fade it, but that's an interesting one. Chad, is there anybody else that you guys want to see from the Patriots and Saints game? We went over Drake May, we went over Stephon Diggs, we went over Alvin Kamara, Rashid Shaheed. If there's anybody that you guys want to see that I'm missing, just say the word. Can't find Kendre Miller rushing yards. So he looks like he doesn't even have lines up yet. Maybe they're waiting to see if Kamara gets traded before the week. But that is weird. If you want, we can research him anyways and try and predict like where his line's going to be. So we got him projected 36.77 rushing yards, 1.23 receptions, 7.83 receiving yards. Again, his rushing share is going up. So we're looking at 10 and 11 the last 2 games. I think that's about where it's going to set at. They do still like Kamara. They just want to use him more in the receiving game. And they like Kendre Miller, so their balance has just kind of been using him in the running game and Kamara in the receiving game. So I think 10 targets is a good spot. We can look at 8 to 12 targets historically. Let me see this in 2024. Does he have 8 to 12 attempts on any of them? We'll do 8 to 13, 7 to 13. So he has 3 games, Green Bay, Washington, New York. He had 15, 46, and 32 rushing yards. And then we can check 2023 as well. 7 to. So he had 3 games. How did he do here? 73, 37, and 34. I think they're probably going to set it in that high 30s range if I had to guess. If we're looking at 10 attempts against a good defense, they usually set that at like just below 4 yards a carry. I think that's where it's going to settle at. So I would say I agree with these projections this time. Appreciate you asking, Alex. Big time. Again, I'm here for you guys. All I'm doing on the stream right now is showing you a little bit about my research process. Obviously, there's a lot more that goes into it, keeping up with the reports and some other guys that do other great research. I keep up with some of the content that they put out, but then a lot of the stuff that I like to look at is in this website. So I'm showing you guys a bit of how to use it and giving you a chance to ask questions and watch me use it as well. So I'll say that's the Patriots game. And then that Drake May line is really messing with me. I might have to play it. Quarterbacks for who's the Saints defensive coordinator right now? Oh, Brandon Staley. Okay. I did not realize that. Interesting. Those scrambles are tempting. I just don't understand how he's getting them against a team that's not forcing that much pressure and finishing blitzes when they get pressure. It's not making sense to me. One of those two stats has to correct itself. QB fault sacks. Yeah. Well, let's check that actually. Only one of their sacks have been at the fault of the QB. Scramble rate, 10th highest scramble rate, but again, facing Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, and what's his face? Jackson Dart will do that no matter how good your defense is, basically. One other thing that I want to check. For those who follow Datarama on Twitter, he put out an interesting thing regarding QB rushing that I can put on the screen here for you. So this Sumer Sports I mentioned earlier, it's like an AI chatbot for NFL stats, and it's free for now. I'd be shocked if it stays that way. But he found a way to adjust quarterback rushing yards for matchups and then rank them. So now we want to look for where the Saints rank. 12th worst in rushing yards, adjusted rushing yards per game to quarterbacks at 24.33. Bills rank the most. That checks out. Same with the Bears, Jets, Steelers, Jaguars. But yeah, 24.33. I'd say that's solid. That's good. That's what we want. And then, I just had something else that I wanted to check that I'm blanking out on. This is going to bother me. It'll come to mind. But Drake May is one that I'm strongly considering playing. I'll say that. And next game. Chargers and Dolphins. There's a couple spots I like. One of them being Justin Herbert for the same reason I was talking about Drake May. One of them I'll put on the screen here for you guys. I was talking with JJ, and we were looking at a stat of explosive rushes and yards on explosive rushes. So let me pull that up here. If I can find it in our conversation. Here we go. So explosive rushes in this case is defined as a rush attempt of 10 plus air yards. Hopefully you guys can see that clear here. And he has it filtered for explosive rush rate. So at what frequency are defenses allowing this? And then yards per explosive rush, because obviously a 12-yard rush is different than a 25-yard rush. And I wanted to use this to look at explosive rush props. And again, we're looking at the Chargers and Dolphins. Look at where both these teams rank, but the Dolphins are allowing almost 19 yards per explosive rush. The reason I like that's enticing to me is Hassan Haskins, 11.5 yards for his longest rush. Kamani Vidal, 9.5. The issue is we don't know which one's going to actually get the bulk of the rush share. The books think it's going to lean slightly to Haskins. I don't entirely disagree, but I don't want to exactly stake my money on that. But if the average rush rate, we're looking at 17% for each of them. So you're probably expecting between the two of them, you're expecting probably 4 explosive rush attempts. And the defense is allowing 18.9 per explosive rush. That's well over this 11.5 and 9.5. They could realistically both go over. And then there's also Justin Herbert in the mix at 11.5. So that's one I think is really enticing, that since the site looks at game logs and stuff, and this would be both of their first games getting real usage, I don't necessarily think would be helpful to look at. What I think would be nice to look at is De'Von Achane. And it's not the rushing stats. It is the receiving, because he has a 4.5 reception line with some juice. And the yards is sitting at, if I can find it, 30.5. The reason I say this is because 56% of his routes last game did not come from the backfield. They came basically as a receiver, like lined up as a receiver. I will say his stats lined up as a receiver this season are not as high as you would want them to be. But also, no Tyreek Hill definitely changes things. So I don't want to focus too much on that. But 6, 7, 8 receptions in his 3 games with overs, and the Jets and Colts 4 total. If we want to look at air yards, it's been in the negative most games except for this Carolina game last game, where again lined up as a receiver a lot, and the Jets the last 2 games. The 2 games, this game Tyreek got hurt, this game without Tyreek, period. So it's not nothing by any means. And 4 running backs out of the backfield, cover 1 is not good for them. So the Chargers rank 6th least. If we want to see how opposing running backs have done in the same metric, the Commanders combined for 3 total. That's not great. Scatterboo 2. RJ Harvey got 3. That's solid because he doesn't get a big route share, or snap share, I should say. Genty got 3. Hunt and Pacheco combined for 4. So it's not like a beautiful matchup by any means, but there's other stuff going on there that I think would be nice. I think we should have a look at Ladd McConkey. Let's do it. McConkey. Is his line still where I think it is? 4.5 minus 136. Yeah. Let's go check his receptions. Over in just 3 of 5 so far this season. 5+ targets in every single game this season. 6+ in 4 of 5. 7+ in 2 of the last 3. Targets of 15+ air yards. 1, 1, and 3 in week 1. And then first Washington and Denver, he didn't have a single one. They were all sub 15 yards. So for that reason, I think I would like receptions over yards. Routes run, the routes are still there. That obviously isn't a concern. Air yards are not that high. Again, I'd rather just have receptions because we know he gets open. And if you turn on the tape, by the way, he's getting open. I promise you. There's just so many mouths to feed in that offense right now. So if we want to, Miami plays a lot of cover 2. The Giants play some of the least cover 2 in the NFL. If you filter them out, he has 4+ receptions in every game. His only miss against Patrick Surtain defense. I'm not really worried about that. If we filter for teams that just run it an above average amount, Washington Raiders, Green, twice. If we want to filter for defenses that run, let's see, because they're averaging a lot of these coverages. It's really just the cover 2. And then cover 6 and cover 0 and cover 9. I mean, like, yeah, the ranks are up and down, but 2% of plays, 4% of plays, 3%. It's not, don't really love like valuing that too heavily. What I think we're going to add going forward as well is single high safety looks and 2 high safety looks. So it groups a lot of these together and it gets rid of some of these low percentage plays that the difference between 7.6 and 7.9 might be drastic in the rank column, but really it doesn't change much. If we want to go here against teams that allow low air yards per game. So basically, like if we're talking about him not being the one getting deep targets, then we want to remove the teams that are forcing deep targets. That was kind of the thought process there. Yards after reception is good for him if you like yards, because all the teams that they played have been very low in yards after the catch per reception allowed. Rushing yards per game, Miami ranks dead last. They suck against bad rushing defense. He's at 5 and 6. And we'll look at 2024 games as well. Same with rushing yards per attempt. Again, no surprise. They stack the box a lot, which is good for, like, it forces teams to pass more. Hasn't really come to fruition for him yet this season, so maybe that's a non-factor for the play callers over there. And then if we want to go to 2024. Receptions. I need to fix this. There we go. I mean, you guys know how he was that back half of the season. So he had, 5+ receptions in his last 8 games. And 11 of his last 12. Like, this was free money last year. If you want to look at routes run, maybe as a game with how much did he have this season? 29 in each. So let's look at games with 29 routes run last season. With 29 routes run, he was over in every game against, guess who? Patrick Surtain. So basically, Tony, are you going to talk me into this shit again? If we look against, so averaging 5.9 receptions per game, again, when he has 29 or more routes. If we filter for, I guess it doesn't change too much against cover 2 defenses. Let's check against bad rushing defenses. 6.25 for above average, then the sample gets pretty small. Rushing yards per attempt maybe goes up to 6.5. We can see similar players. Garrett Wilson got 6, Stephon Diggs 4. That was on limited snaps, by the way. Josh Downs only 2, but his route share has been weird this year. And then trying to look at other, like, high usage possession receivers and how they did. That might not have been added yet. Khalil Shakir, not high usage, but similar stuff. So they haven't really faced, like, Stephon Diggs is the closest player we can say to Stephon Diggs that they faced so far in terms of what his role in the offense, I'd say. How many routes did he run that game? Let me check. Because if he only ran like 20 routes, then that's very much in our favor. He might have had like 7 targets too. So let me pull that up. So this was 9-14. That's week 2. In week 2, Stephon Diggs ran only 58% of routes, had 5. So only 18 routes. 18 routes, 5 targets, 4 receptions. 8 out of 6.8. I'm pretty sure that's spot on with, or similar to where McConkey is. So that's pretty damn good efficiency, if you ask me. We're talking about a 23% targets, or 28% targets per route run. McConkey's been settling in below like 30%. I think it makes a lot of sense. If we just look at wide receiver ones and ignore like whether in the slot or the outside, Tet 6, Garrett Wilson 6. Bills don't actually have one, and we already looked at Diggs. So, and we can look at the Colts. Pittman had 6. I think I like this one again. I wish there was slightly less juice, though. I probably should not have waited as long as I did. But 136, it's still playable. I think at 140 is about as high as I would go. If we come back here, what was I going to look at? Air yards per game. Yeah. I mean, he's just green in every game, so it's hard to be like, oh, He does better in games with this usage. It's just nonstop butter. Yeah, Lad's in a good spot. The only thing is FTN hasn't projected 4.29 receptions. So 64.26 yards. They're basically banking on a lot of yak there. I see the vision, Tony. Quentin Johnson is questionable. That'll absolutely help him. If Quentin Johnson is limited by any means, this projection definitely jumps up. And then, so who else in that game was worth looking at? I talked about the Chargers running backs. Talked about Ladd. If we go to the Miami side, it's pretty clear. Jalen Waddle. We can just look at last game real quick. His lone game without Tyreek. Because, it was everything you could have asked for. It was everything you could have asked for. I'm going to pull up some of the other stats on my other screen as well. That's, hold on. 26% targets per out run, 9 targets, but only 6 of them were catchable. The big thing is 15.3 yard ADOT, 138 air yards. That's fucking insane. Why is this being so slow with me today? What's going on? There we go. Having projected 71.65 yards, 5.67 receptions. In the game without Tyreek, 4 targets of 15 or more air yards, 9 targets, 35 routes run, 144 air yards. Guys, that usage is insane. That might be his highest of like the last 2 years. So for air yards, it is. That's his highest amount of air yards the last 2 years. He's only had 1 game with more targets of 15 plus air yards. Let's see what his line is. Jalen Waddle, 67.5 receiving yards, 5.5 receptions. That 5.5 receptions could be nice. But let's go here, 67.5. And let's check. Oh my God. With games with 90 plus air yards. Over in 2 of 3 last season. In 2023, did he have a game without Tyreek? He had 1 game without Tyreek. $142 yards. Only 1 target of 15 plus air yards. How the hell did he do that? 79 air yards. So we're looking 3 years deep now, and that was still the most air yards he's had in a game. 9 targets again versus the Jets. If we check 2022, when did Tyreek? Yeah, Tyreek was there. He didn't have a single game without Tyreek in 2022. In 2021. So 2021, Tyreek wasn't there yet. So we're really only looking at 23, 24. He didn't have a game without Tyreek in 24 either. So in 2 games without Tyreek, he has 79 and 144 air yards. He has 9 targets in both. So if I'm doing my math right, what do you have? 35 routes run last game? So 35 plus 26, looking at 61. That's 29.5 yards per route run. Or targets per route run, sorry. Oh, that usage is nuts. That's some really good usage. There's not enough of a sample size to really look against that Tyreek, but I can look at 79 plus air yards. That I can do. Six plus targets in 2023, over in 3 of 7 games with those marks. If I look at games with 8 plus targets, we get 4 of 8. I want to look at games with 2 plus deep targets and 6 plus targets, period. You get 3 of 6, but I mean, if he's going over this line, he's demolishing this line. That's what the case is, honestly. In 2024, 4 games, 2 of them with 99 plus yards. So the way I'm kind of interpreting this, if you're betting it, you're laddering it. You should not be playing this as a straight. This season, 2 games, 68 versus New England, 110 versus Carolina. That's where my head is at on Waddle. We went over A-Chain already a little bit. I think that's everything I plan to go over, unless you guys have anything else you want me to touch on. I'll check on Ollie Gordon as well, just to see what his usage has been like and how he's been used in better matchups. Ollie Gordon, only 3 attempts last game. A-Chain dominated attempts, 6 and 9 the 2 games before that, though. He's projected 41.86 rushing yards on here. If they're going to keep using A-Chain as a receiver, then that means somebody has to be in there as a running back, and it's probably going to be Ollie Gordon. Michael Carter. Let's go check on Michael Carter. He's another one where there's not going to be much of a game log with, because he's very rarely ever the starter. But projected 44 rushing yards, 1.7 receptions, 11.8 receiving yards, 18 rushing attempts last game. He dominated. After that DeMercado shit, I don't think that's going anywhere. Only 51 yards on 18 rush attempts is not what you want to see in terms of efficiency. 2.83 yards per attempt, not great. However, now let's see what the matchup's looking like. Pretty average matchup in case of efficiency. A lot of light boxes. Indiana, 5th highest light box rate in the NFL. So that is something good there. I want to see where Tennessee ranked in light box usage, because if they stack the box, then we can just look at his efficiency against the light boxes and see if that changes things. So as a defense, they're bang average in stack box rate. So then if we want to look at Michael Carter's runs against light boxes specifically, I'm seeing 2.6. Oh no, that's Michael Penix. Hold on. 1.5 yards per carry. That's not what you want to see. Small sample size, but still not what you want to see. If I check last year, it was 8 attempts for 12 yards, by the way. So it's not a good thing. Michael Carter last year, 3.4 yards per carry on light boxes. So I do expect that to go up. It's just a matter of, is it up enough to actually be an advantage, or does it not really matter? Other running backs in this matchup, Ashton Jeanty got 67. Blake Corum, 21. Kyren Williams, 77 yards. Tony Pollard, 45. J.K. Dobbins, 76. So, they're putting up good numbers. They're allowing a good chunk. But, yeah. That's really all we can look at with Michael Carter, because he doesn't usually get starter usage. I think that's everything I want to look at from that game. Unless, again, if anybody has specific ones they want to look at, please just say the word. Next up, we can go to Cowboys-Panthers. Here's one that I am very interested in. Liking the similar players feature. It's going to get a lot better really soon. That was one of the things where we built it out at the start of the site over a year ago, and we've hit a lot of roadblocks and obstacles that we've had to maneuver through, and we got it figured out. But it was one of the things where the data wasn't inaccurate, and there was much more important features that we thought we had in line. We didn't think that it blocked the launch by any means, but it is on the list of something to definitely improve on. So I'm glad you already like it, and I'm excited to see how much you like it once we do get a chance to improve on it, whenever that may be. All right. Dallas and Carolina. Tat McMillan has 21 targets of 10 or more air yards, 8 of 20 plus. If we filter for, let's check the last 3 weeks. 7 or more targets of 20 plus air yards, an ADOT of 12.67 yards, 23% targets per route run. Look at the guys around him. This is great company. By the way, these Isaiah Bond throws, he has 7. Maybe one of them were catchable. These are like very empty 7 targets. So I would ignore that. And then Tyquan Thornton, we know pretty much every target he's had this season has been a deep threat. And then you look around. Igbuka 9. Puka Nacua. Look, McMillan 7 and 9 of 20 plus air yards. Targets per out run, damn near the same. Air yards per target, McMillan's a little lower. I am all over Tat McMillan this week. And here is why. Dallas allowing the 6th most air yards per game, the 4th most yards per completion, and the most passing yards per game allowed. The other thing is, Bryce Young, his accuracy at home and away is night and day. It's completely different. Looking at a 68.5 yard line on Hard Rock. Oh my God, 72.5 on other books. So yeah, Hard Rock and MGM are slacking a little bit. Where I'm enticed is his longest reception. And 24.5 is too low for one. I'm on Igbuka 20 for 25 plus yard reception for context. I have a parlay that I think I debated posting last night. I haven't locked in yet, or I haven't posted yet. I locked it in. If the odds haven't moved, I'll probably still lock it in. Of McMillan, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Igbuka to all get a 20-yard reception at like plus 150 and all get a 30-yard reception at like plus 1,500. I told you guys I liked Igbuka. I showed you guys how close their stats were. I showed you how good of a matchup this is. And McMillan's sitting at the same 24.5 line that I got for Igbuka. If we want to look at similar players in this matchup, Garrett Wilson got 71 yards. Matthew Golden is not a similar player, but he's a deep ball guy. 58 yards. Rome Odunze, 62 yards, which, by the way, I'm pretty sure was a blowout. Malik Neighbors got 167 yards in this matchup. And yes, those are like Malik Neighbors is better, don't get me wrong, but in terms of X receiver that is the number 1 target for his offense and gets a lot of deep targets, they're the same. They fit the same bill. AJ Brown only 8. Fuck the Eagles right now. Don't worry about that. Ignore that weak one. If the Eagles are a mess of an offense, which I didn't think we'd say after they just won the Super Bowl. But this is very good. This is exactly what you want to see. Like if I were to fix the similar players right now, Garrett Wilson would be in that same bucket. Rome Odunze would be in that same bucket. Malik Neighbors would be in that same bucket. And those are the guys that are just absolutely dominated them. McMillan is in for a big week. If we filter for just home games, we only have 2. 40 and 27 routes run. If we check air yards, 120 and 78. So he's converting those air yards at a significantly higher rate than away games. Because again, Bryce Young has been more accurate. He's also been one of the more unlucky players in terms of converting air yards. But 100 plus air yards in 3 of 5 games is nuts. Not to mention, not all of these are good matchups. Arizona's a good matchup. Jacksonville, it's not an easy matchup, but they do funnel a lot to top targets. Let me do this. Atlanta they play a lot of man coverage, so that's going to depend a lot more on Bryce Young. And we can see that did not go well as at Atlanta, I think. Yeah. No, it wasn't. No, it was at home. New England. No Christian Gonzalez, 62. And then Miami was a great matchup. He got 73. By the way, I forgot to tell you guys. Either all 73 of those yards came in the first half or 66 of the 73 yards came in the first half. He was whooping them belt to ass for a good chunk of that game. And then they just didn't need to use him anymore. But I am a big Ted McMillan fan this week. 77 yards projected, 5.7 receptions. If you haven't bought Ted McMillan stock yet, you should do so this week. As far as whoever else in that game, we got Rico Dowdle. Obviously, Chuba Hubbard unlikely to play again. Dowdle just had one of the best running back games, probably the best running back game that we'll see this week. 206 yards. Miami fucking sucks, if you guys can't tell. But 23 rush attempts, obviously dominated. Only game this year as a starter, so let's go to last year where he was also a starter. And we can go, what do we want to look at? 17 rush attempts? 86 rushing yards in every game with 17 rush attempts. If we go 15. Guys, he's whooping them. He's a good back. This is a horrible matchup. Tampa Bay is a bad matchup. I'm not going to hold that against him. If his worst game against like a normal matchup with starter type usage is 72 yards and his line is at probably something ridiculous. 72 and a half. That doesn't make sense. If I go 13 plus rush attempts against a team that's let's do rushing yards per game because they rank worse there. Tampa Bay was that. What did Tampa Bay rank in rushing yards per game last year? Is it just this year that they're bad against the, or they're really good against the run? I thought they were nice against the run last year too. Let's see. No, they were good against the run last year too. Oh no, I'm looking at this year. Okay, that might change things. They're solid against the run. 23rd in, or I guess 10th least yards per carry. If I check yards per game, let's see. If I can check that anywhere, Jesus. I guess not. All right. Oh, they were not third highest DVOA allowed last season. Never mind. They were not good. That makes sense. So yeah, just this Tampa Bay game's weird, I guess. If we go, they don't keep the box lighter heavy at an unusual amount. Where did Washington rank? So yeah, they were slightly above average rushing defense. Dowdle should have another big game. This is ridiculous. This is a ridiculous line. I'm not gonna lie. I'm probably just gonna play like I don't agree with this projection in the slightest. I don't think Hubbard has been declared out. I think they're just like, oh, he's probably not playing. I think that's weighting that a little bit. Oh no, he's been ruled out. That was last night. So yeah, I'm just gonna say I don't agree with the projection. So that was the Carolina side. I don't really want to talk about anybody else. On the Dallas side, do we have news on CeeDee Lamb yet? Is anything official? CeeDee Lamb listed out as of last night. So George Pickens Day, again, Oh my God, he's gonna have a big game too. That's Why is George Pickens at 4.5 receptions? That's not right. That is not right. I'm not worried about that Flournoy guy again doing what he did. Longest reception sitting at 25.5. I'm probably playing George Pickens this week too. Oh, there's a decent amount of good spots there. I'm glad I'm doing this stream. Receiving yards. Only 57 last week, caught a big deep bomb. They were dominating the whole game. They did not need to throw that much, and that Flournoy guy got 120 yards. He's not doing that again. 2+ deep targets in every game so far this season. In games without CeeDee Lamb or CeeDee Lamb leaving early, 9 targets, 11 targets, and just 4 last game. CeeDee Lamb, I can't remember. Did he get hurt versus the Giants or the Bears? I think it was the Giants. Let me check. CeeDee Lamb played weeks 1, 2, and then got hurt after 3 snaps or 3 routes against the Bears. So honestly, the fact that Pickens still got 9 targets against the Giants is pretty insane. The routes run are obviously there. 72 plus air yards in every single game, except for Philly week 1. Again, let's play this game, shall we? George Pickens with 72 plus air yards. With bum quarterback play. I'm sorry. Needs to be said. Absolutely dominant. Did he really not get a single reception against Cincinnati? He got 3. I think this is bugging. Yeah, I don't know why this is bugging. He had 74 against Cincinnati. Oh, it's because it's a playoff game. Right? Was it a playoff game? Maybe not. But then if we see how other dominant receivers have done against this team, Jalen Waddle, 110 yards. Drake London, only 55, not ideal. Brian Thomas, that week 1 game, we all know how much of a disaster that was. Diggs, 101 yards. Darnell Mooney, when him and Drake London are both active, their stats are actually pretty similar. Marvin Harrison at 27 isn't ideal. I'll be the first to say that. But I said last week, I can pull up the tweet, that pretty much as long as CeeDee Lamb is out, you should expect George Pickens to get 100 yards. Now I'll pull up that tweet. He's had 9 targets and 76 air yards in each of the last 3 games, and CeeDee Lamb is still out. So that number goes down to 72. But in the last 3 seasons, when he has 68 plus air yard, in the last 3 seasons when he hit those marks right there, he's had 68 or more air yards, or 68 or more receiving yards in 9 of 10 games, and 89 or more in 7 of 10 games. Dominant. And the coaches love the guy. And now he gets a matchup against the Carolina Panthers, who are averaging everything. God damn. But let's see. They run a lot of cover 2. They're really averaging everything. Jesus. Okay, maybe the matchup point isn't as much of an edge, but I'm still taking that 90 plus most likely. Yeah, George Pickens is, if CeeDee Lamb's still out, George Pickens is a good look. So let's go over real quick just everything we've gone over so far. Let's see. I need to make notes of it so I actually remember this time. So George Pickens overs, Tet McMillan overs, Drake May rushing overs. Ooh. Rico Dowdle overs. Rams, Ravens. I think I talked about Devonta Adams, but I'm not in love with it. And the Ravens, we need to see who's going to play quarterback. Jalen Waddle overs. Yep, good shout. And then that might have been it. I think the other reason I like Jalen Waddle a lot is Darren Waller's usage has been absolutely ridiculous. And the Chargers are actually a pretty tough tight end matchup. So the usage is going to have to go somewhere else. Was there somebody else on the Patriots? No, there wasn't. I think that's it. Jalen Waddle, yeah, his usage when Tyreek Hill is out has been absolutely insane. It hasn't been a big sample size, but when he starts getting deep targets and being used like a wide receiver 1, getting like 8+ targets, what we discovered is he's pretty much going for 100 or he's going for 50. Like his line's at 70 something. It's not worth playing the 70 yards straight. If you're playing him, you're playing his 100 yards. All right, next game. Oh, the Chargers running backs longest rush. And then we talked about Ladd McConkey a little bit. He should hit, but I'm personally not going to play it. We got Tony just posted in the cord. Where'd it go? Kyren Williams over 72.5 rushing yards. Minus 115. There we go. There's a play for the squad. All right, next game. Seahawks and Jaguars. We talked about ETN unders. I'm actually going to make note of that one as well. We did talk about that one already. He hasn't really gotten a bad matchup yet. So this is going to be his first like truly bad matchup. I'd like a potential bounce back game for Brian Thomas. If you have him in fantasy, like I'd start him, but I don't think I want to bet on it. Travis Hunter's lines have soared up. I know Tony posted that to the court earlier as well. And then don't think there's much else worth talking about on the Jaguar side. On the Seahawks side, Zach Charbonnet. It's a bad matchup. The Jags running defense has been really good. I don't know why they're giving us playable Zach Charbonnet unders. I don't know why we haven't projected 45 yards either. I mean, they want to use him a bunch for no reason. I don't quite understand why. But I think his line is like 40.5. 37.5. I mean, he's walked that line this season. Rushing attempts of 9, 12, 15, and 12. If he gets more than 12 yards right now, I think the staff needs to be probably fired. Because when you look at this matchup, wow, that Chiefs game really corrected some of their rushing stats. I guess when you get beat by Pacheco, getting explosive rushes, you kind of deserve it. So maybe we don't play sharp unders. As far as this is another one I like. I mentioned I played JSN for a 20+ yard reception because I think this is filtering for the weeks. 9 targets of 20+ air yards, 27 targets of 10+ air yards, leading the NFL. Oh, by the way, 32% targets per route run. I think he's had a 25-yard or more reception in every game this season, if I'm remembering correctly. I mean, his usage is nuts. This is nuts. Consistent. Like, the Seahawks are not throwing the ball that much. Like, his routes, this isn't because his route share's down, that he's had 31 or less routes in 4 or 5 games. It's because they're just running the ball so much. His usage is insane. If we look at his targets, he's had 2 or more targets of 15+ air yards in every game this season. Let's check something, shall we? Let's check 2024. when he has 2 targets, let's say 6 targets. When he has 2 deep targets and 6 total targets, last year he had 95, 83, 110, 180, and 70 yards in his most recent 5 games. A 9-yarder versus Atlanta. Let me look at games without Metcalf too, because that's another important factor. 180 and 69. Buffalo is a brutal matchup, and he still got 69. 83.5. It's high. It should be. Good on them. They know what they're doing. I think as long as reception is in play. That's if I were to play Jaxon Smith-Njigba, that's which one I would do. Don't care for anybody else on either side at that point. Next game, unless anybody has any questions. Again, doing this for you guys, for anybody who's coming in new. If you want access to the website, just shoot me a DM and I'll get it to you. Or you can click the QR, or you can scan the QR code at the bottom here. But yeah. Next game. Cardinals and Colts. Now, one thing with the Cardinals is they're letting wide receiver ones absolutely dominate against them. The issue is Pittman is a wide. DM me on any platform, Discord, Twitter, the direct MCA Twitter, whatever you want. You DM me wherever you can find me, and I will get it to you. Okay. Michael Pittman has been reminding everybody this season that he's very good at football. The only issue with saying, oh, Arizona's bad against wide receiver ones, you should play the wide receiver one, is Tyler Warren exists, and I'm beginning to think that he's technically the number one target of this offense, even though Michael Pittman is the number one quote-unquote wide receiver. So there is that aspect. Team plays a lot of cover 4. The only team he's played that plays a lot of cover 4 is Miami, so it doesn't truly count. And then if we want to look at air yards per game, for example, the only plus air yards per game matchup has been Tennessee, and he had 73 yards. If we want to look at passing yards per game against above average matchups, 73, 80, and the Raiders at 39. I think he's nice. I think he's really good. They're playing light boxes, so the play action game could open up if they get somebody to bite. But I think we've seen that doesn't matter as much in the pass game. Rushing yards per attempt allowed. So when they played good defenses and have had to lean on the pass, we see he's had better games. I'm a big Michael Pittman fan. If we look at how wide receiver ones have done against him, holy shit. Calvin motherfucking Ridley got 131 yards. Jaxon Smith-Njigba 79. Ricky Pearsall 117 yards. Ted McMillan 100. We go to similar players. Chris Olave 54. Brandon Cooks is not a similar player. They've been getting cooked by wide receiver ones. If you believe in Michael Pittman, this is as great of a spot as ever to back him. He is a spot that I've debated heavily this week, and I think I'm probably going to pull the trigger, but we'll see. Let's look at downs. Let's look. So 113 routes run, 27 targets. Only 5 of them have been for 10 or more yards. So he's getting a lot of shallow targets, 7.3 ADOT, not very high. 24% targets per run is solid. What's his line at? Because if you're playing him, I think you're playing receptions. 3.5 juiced over minus 150. In terms of targets, 5+ in 3 of his last 4 against the Raiders, the Rams, and Denver Broncos. I almost said Denver Nuggets. Routes run, it's been low, but it's starting to climb. These are the 2 games without Alec Pierce, who, dude, I'd be shocked if he's out again. Because, I mean, he was only out for a concussion. If he's out for a 3rd straight week with a concussion, then there's some bigger things to worry about. Let's see if anything's been said. Yeah, he cleared the concussion protocol. So we'll see if that changes. I'm not sure that it does because he wasn't playing in 2 wide receiver sets anyways. But let me look at his route share. His targets per out run is sitting at 25% this season, kind of carried by weeks 2 and 5 against Denver and the Raiders, obviously. So we can look at how they're doing against slots specifically. But in terms of his route share, 71% and 72% his last 2 games. I'm very curious to see if that's because of Pierce or if they're just wanting him on the field more. Where's Doolin? Because I know Doolin played 84% of routes, which is about the same that Pierce was playing. And the week before, Adonai Mitchell was at 91%. So I think they're just running more 3 wide receiver sets. If that's the case, that's very good for Downs because he's good. He gets open. He gets targets when he's in. It's just a matter of how much is he on the field. And that's entirely dependent on running 3 wide receiver sets. As long as they're doing that, he should have good games. Again, Arizona has been solid against the run so far this season. Terrible in the air. My only thing would be, I just talked about Michael Pittman. Tyler Warren is in a great spot based on the coverages. So then the slot guys, how much can you really expect from them? It gets a little tricky. Kendrick Bourne getting 4 receptions was nice. Hunter Renfrow 7 receptions is really, really good because I don't think he's ever going to get 7 targets, much as receptions the rest of the year. Calvin Ridley's been moving around more because Io Manor is operating as a pure X. Chris Olave, the shallow target 7. I think you can't really have a wrong option when you pick a receiver for the Colts or pick a receiver against the Cardinals. Personally, I think Pittman's the guy in this one, but Downs is in a great spot. Probably means it's Flournoy season again. God, I hope not. I have no idea how that even happened to begin with. When I was looking on my phone, I don't remember what game I was watching. I think I was at the Lions-Bengals game. And I look at my phone, I see Flournoy, 22-yard reception. Flournoy, 12-yard reception. I'm like, dude, why? What was I going to say? Oh, on the Arizona side, Marvin Harrison, welcome to the NFL. We've been waiting for you. Jesus Christ, where have you been? Good to see you're alive and well. What's his line at now? 52.5. That's probably still too low, if we're being completely honest with ourselves. Over in 3 of 5 this season, the 2 games he missed, Carolina and San Francisco. Carolina didn't have shit. Still 90 air yards against San Francisco. Like, that's promising. Targets of 15 plus, he's had a 2 or more in every game except that Carolina game. He had 0. Not really sure. That was the game where they asked the coach like 17 times the next week, like, why aren't we getting him the ball? Obviously that changed because he had 3 or more in every game after that. They're using him not differently than last year, still having him run as a pure X, but they're having him run more like in breaking routes rather than just being like, hey, go make a big play for 70 yards or you get us nothing. If you look at similar receivers, at least receivers that I consider similar, Puka isn't similar, but in terms of the wide receiver 1 playing more on the outside and running and breaking routes, he fits that. He got 170. Devontae Adams is probably a closer comp. 56 yards is solid. We can check Io Manor for the Titans if he wants to show up. Where are you? 38 yards, solid. Cortland Sutton, where are you? Only 6 yards. That's not ideal. Tyreek Hill, 40. So from a matchup standpoint, they haven't been allowing the biggest production to what I consider similar players. But I mean, I just think it's Marvin Harrison season. I really do. We're looking at, in the last 3 games, 90 air yards and 3 deep targets in every game, 5 targets total. If we wanted to apply that filter to 2024, let's see. AZ may not have Kyler this week. At this point, that probably works in his favor, for being honest. Hate to say it. It's probably true. Hold on. Yeah, I was about to say something. Something was glitching there. When he has 3 deep targets in a game, he's over in 5 of 9 games. When he has 90 plus air yards, which again he's had in the last 3 games, 60 plus in 5 of 7 games. When he has 5 targets and 2 of them are deep targets, or let's keep it to 3, that doesn't change as much. We got him projected 56.75 receiving yards, 4.25 receptions. If we want to look at games, Indiana is very low in the air yards per game metric. Or yards per completion metric, I should say. That does not go in his favor. And they have a lot of light boxes, which he has historically performed poorly against in 2024. Probably Marvin Harrison season, as long as his lines are sub 60, but the matchup itself is not a good one by any means. We checked Michael Carter already. We could check Trey McBride. I'll do that. It's the first tight end we've looked at so far. So what's his receptions line? 6.5. Oof. That's actually, Arizona's been terrible against tight ends. Yeah, no, he's probably played this week. Albert, I forgot he was still playing. He got 5 receptions against them. Holy shit, Stream Lotto, absolutely Stream Lotto. Whatever you guys want. Like I said, this is for you. If you want a Stream Lotto, you're going to get a Stream Lotto. This is hilarious that Albert O just got fucking 5 receptions. They're so bad against tight ends. That's hilarious. Gunnar Helm got 3. Okonkwo got 5. Evan Ingram, I think, got injured in this game. And then Troutman came in and got 3 for him. Tyler Higbee, 5 receptions across Rams tight ends. That's hilarious. Oh, my God. What's his targets been? 7, 11, 8, 7, 9. Man, this is probably the get-right game. This is probably it. This is where Kyler becomes an issue. Because that's Kyler's safety blanket. We don't know what the tendency of we can check tight ends with Jacoby Brissett. Let me look it up. So those are games this year. So for New England last year, they have decently high usage tight ends. Hunter Henry against the Jets, 6 targets, 5 receptions, 45 yards. Against the Dolphins, this should be good production. Hunter Henry, only 4 targets, 2 receptions, 32 yards on 34 attempts by Jacoby Brissett, by the way. Pop Douglas got 9 targets. Against the 49ers, we got Antonio Gibson, 4 targets. Jesus. So, yeah, it doesn't look like Brissett is targeting the tight ends that heavily, at least last season. So I'm reluctant to trust that he'd do the same here. Well, then, no, now he has this game with 12 targets on Hunter Henry. I don't understand the Patriots, man. I'm glad they got a new coach. But Trey McBride is in a good spot. I wish his lines were slightly lower on receptions, but he's in a good spot. Next game. I'm making note of all the ones we really like. So far, we are at George Pickens overs, Ted McMillan overs, Rico Dowdle overs, all in the same game. I wouldn't pick all 3 of them. I'd probably pick 2 of them. Jalen Waddle overs. He's either going for 100 plus or nothing. Both Chargers running backs to have their longest rush props are both low. Drake May rushing overs, Travis Etienne rushing unders, and Pittman receiving overs. Those are so far my favorites. But we're still going through. Don't you guys worry. We're not even through the 1 p.m. slate yet. Browns versus Steelers. Here's another one I want. I don't have the balls to pull the trigger. I'll be the first one to admit this. But Gainwell should not be at 27.5 rushing yards. The Cleveland Browns are the best, without question, the best rushing defense in the NFL right now. Jaylen Warren is healthy. I do expect Caleb Johnson to start getting in the mix as well. There's only so many times a team can run the ball in a game, especially against a bad matchup. If he gets anything less than 9 rush attempts, 27.5 is too much. Because I also don't like it'd be different if it was Blake Corum. I think Blake Corum is a really good backup, and like if he gets the starter to start for another team, he'd go crazy. I think that Gainwell big game in overseas last week, I think that was or 2 weeks ago, flash in a pan. He's not that guy. Kenneth Gainwell, NFL player, nothing but respect for him. Obviously, you got to be very good to make it to that point. He's a backup running back. That's fine. That's a very difficult thing to become. You're not going to go and get 30 yards against the best rushing defense in the NFL on less than 8 carries. That's all I'll say on the matter. As far as everybody else, we got DK Metcalf. And there is something I haven't looked at before this stream, so you guys are getting my first look at it. He is doing all of his work after the catch. For a guy averaging 65 yards a game, to have 34 or less air yards in every game except one where he still only had 45. Everything's coming after the catch. Cleveland ranks 16th in yards after catch per reception, so I guess that's fine. 7th in air yards per game, 10th in yards per completion. He had 20 yards against Seattle. Jesus. If we look at similar receivers, Justin Jefferson had 123. He's a dog. Lions don't really have a similar receiver. Amon-Ra St. Brown, yeah, he does a lot of yak, but he works out at the slot. DK doesn't. Matthew Golden, 52. That was solid. I'll give him that. They just run a lot of man coverage. So if you have a man beater, you'll get him. I don't know what his line is. 55.5. It's probably too high. But I don't know. We haven't projected 57.77, 3.9 receptions. So books are probably pricing it well. I'd just be surprised personally. Don't really care for any other Steelers receivers or running backs. As far as the Brown side, obviously Dillon Gabriel is there. So there's not much to look at in terms of like season long and game logs, but what I think is worth looking at is, if I can find it, Cleveland, David Njoku, 9 targets last week. Dillon Gabriel is targeting the tight ends. They combined for 13 targets. How many times did he throw the ball in that game? Let me check so I can keep this on the screen for you guys. They had 13 targets on 33 attempts. He was finding his tight ends. 28 routes run for Njoku is very solid, though, because we can check his routes in each game so far. But there was like legitimate concern that Fandon was just going to come in and be the tight end one. And that obviously hasn't happened. So 28 of the 33, I have to assume, dropbacks, or probably a little bit more because he probably got sacked a few times. I'll look it up to know for sure. But that's an 86% route share. 86% route share, 29% targets per out run. That is the highest he's had this season by a comfortable margin. And I don't think it's a coincidence that it came in a game with a quarterback change. I think that's going to stick. So Njoku's in a great spot this week. I think the projections are slow to adjust to this. What are his lines at? Juice over 3.5 receptions, 35.5 receiving yards. Yeah. So that's really all I think is worth talking about on the Cleveland side. There's Judkins. Let's look at him real quick. But here's the thing about Judkins, guys. He's had nothing but bad matchups and has just been cooking against them anyways. I don't really understand how it's happening. I mean, dominating these matchups. He gets... Ooh, this is interesting. Let me see. Yeah, no, the defense he was playing stacked the box too. Rushing yards after contact allowed. Jesus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So he faced 3 of the top 7 defenses in rushing yards after contact per attempt. Still dominated in all of them. Pitt ranks first, but again, still. Rushing yards per game allowed. The only bad one he's faced is Green Bay. I don't know. There's not much else to say other than, yeah, looks like he's just going to keep going off. I don't know. It's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, that's really all I got for you guys on him. Next game. I think we're finally done with the 1 p.m. slate. Yep. Titans and Raiders. No, we haven't gone over that one yet. Oh, I went over Pollard. That's why. I'm on Pollard under 14.5 rushing attempts. Don't even think that's an option anymore. Oh, 14. There you go. Go grab that on MGM if you have it as an option. Minus 125. Clearly. Caesar's. Oh, why did everybody just take it off the board? Did something just come out? Let's see. That's odd. Y'all saw that too? Something had to have come out just now. I swear to God, if it's something about Tajay Spears being like slightly injured or something, I'm going to be quite upset. Oh, no. Yeah, something had to have just come out. There's no way they all just moved like that. What's going on? I'm about to go grab that 14.5 on FanDuel. Minus 102. They're the only ones. What is going on? Some piece of news had to come out, right? There's no way. How much did I already put on this one? I got 1 unit. What's going on? I'll put another quarter unit on it probably. Just in case. I'm very confused. Tennessee Reporter claims Chicago Bears and Titans are talking about a trade, but that was an hour ago. So, honestly, what might have happened is the books got inside information that it's happening, and they're just trying to get people to deposit and put money down. What the fuck? Is there anything else? Honestly, Tony Pollard would be great for the Bears, by the way. There's something from Roto Baller. Let's check. You mean Roto Grinders? No. Alex, where is this tweet? Roto Wire, maybe? No. You like Rico rushing or Rush receiving? Probably rushing receiving. But honestly, both look money. Oh. I don't know if I should be stressed or not. I feel like I should be. Because I got minus 130, and 30 minutes later, it was gone everywhere. So I thought I got value. And that is suddenly changed. Roto Baller NFL. I see Marvin Harrison. Well, I'm just going to put this on my screen. You tell me if that's what you're talking about. Marvin Harrison hovering around wide receiver 2 value. Michael Carter, possible flex play. Mason Taylor. I'm not seeing anything about Pollard. That's it? Oh, wait. Did I skip it? It was 5 hours ago. Oh, shit. Well, then why would the lines have just moved? That doesn't make sense. Let's see if I can find it, though. No, now that's 6 hours ago. Diggs, Brashard Smith, Kendrick Miller, Olave, Kelsey, Shaheed. I'm confused now. No, something's not right. I mean, books don't just do that in unison without something. Unless a sharp posted is over. Which would be puzzling to me. Well, let's keep looking anyways. But the news makes no sense. All I could find. Yeah, something's not adding up. I thought maybe something about Tajay Spears in practice came out, but don't see anything. Oh, maybe you're talking about this. No, I don't think so. I think this is just the AI slop that they do. No. Because here's what I need to find the video of the coach talking about him. Here it is. Can you guys hear it? This is it. We're just getting his feet wet. Now we're gonna get his whole foot in the water. That's what he said. You're telling me Tony Pollard's gonna uh um get 15 carries with that quote? I'm not buying it. Oh, love that. And now we keep rolling. So we're on Tennessee and the Raiders. I love the idea of backing Genty and fading Geno in this one. Because, okay, so Geno's lines have dropped a little bit too much for my liking already. But the pass rate over expected for the Raiders have gone way down the last 3 weeks. And now Brock Bowers looks like he's not playing again. So I think that's going to continue. Genty had 14 rush attempts through 3 quarters last game and was the only starter not to play the fourth. He had a 90% running back rush share before he got pulled, and they were just down like 30-6 and couldn't keep running the ball. But as long as this game, and now they're playing the Titans, who they should beat, as long as this game stays relatively close or they're winning, he's going to get another 20 carries. I promise you that. I wish we could get another 16.5 line like we did last week. Obviously, they're not allowing that. So I don't know that I can play his rush attempts. But expect a big Genty week this week. And then with what's his face out? Brock Bowers out. Jacoby Myers probably gets a bigger workload. Oh, he's at wow. I'm surprised that's what his line is. That's interesting. And then on the Tennessee side, Ridley looks like himself again, but up until last week, data looked really bleak, and now there's a new quarterback, a new person calling plays, so I don't want to look at last year's data. And then we talked about the Pollard and Spears situation there. So then we can go to the next game. Where are we at? Bengals Packers. Tony was bringing up what's his face earlier, Matthew Golden. So we talked about him a little bit. As far as the rest of the gang, Christian Watson's still out, Jaden Reed's still out. So that leaves us with Romeo Doubs, who I hate betting on Romeo Doubs, so I'm not really going to look into him. And then Josh Jacobs is going to get the bell cow work. They're going to be winning by a bunch. I would say I like Jacobs to have a big game. I'd be foolish not to. It just feels like the books have already adjusted to that one. I mean, 18.5 rush attempts, 19.5 on some sites, and 81.5 rushing yards. Not much value at that point. So do what you will with that information. They also did a surprisingly good job keeping the Lions at bay in the run game, even though they were running more too high. So I don't know. I feel weird about that one. And then on the Cincinnati side, if I told you guys that Joe Flacco averaged 8 targets per game to his running backs in his 4 games, 4 games with the Browns, makes you really like Chase Brown. The issue is Samaje Perine, he's taking a decent bit of snaps. Chase Brown is still dominating the actual targets out of the backfield, but if I'm only getting like 20 routes or something like that, maybe even less if I go back and check, it gets kind of murky. I'm pulling it up here. Whoa. Yeah, he's gotten between 40 and 50% of routes in every game except week 4. And then if I look at actual route count, we're looking at 13, 22, 13, 19, 21. For a 3.5 attempt line, you realistically want like 5 targets. You're asking for more than a 25% targets per out run from a running back. I know Joe Flacco is checking down like no other right now. I can't really trust it. T. Higgins lines are really low because I don't know how much we want to trust Joe Flacco to be throwing downfield. Jamar Chase is questionable. I think he popped up on the report. I think he's going to play. I think this might be a game where it depends on Yak for him, which is not what you want against Green Bay. But we can look into Jamar Chase. $11 receiving yards per target. Oh, this is just week 5. Hold on. So 45 targets, 8.31 yards per target. If I go to advanced receiving, 14 targets of 10 or more yards, 9 targets of 20 or more air yards, 9.67 ADOT, almost 12 yards per reception. For that to be the case, we have him projected 81.4 receiving yards, 5.6 receptions. He gets a matchup against a team that allows the lowest yards per completion in the NFL. When I just talked about how I expect him to be getting more underneath work, dominating there, not what you want to see, because yards after reception per reception allowed, 5th lowest. It's a bit scary. It is a bit scary. Obviously, this season, Jake Browning has been atrocious. I don't even want to do him the disservice of looking at those numbers. But if I go, let's say I look at 100 or less air yards. And what's his line at? Again, for anybody who wants access to this website, either DM me on any social media or scan that QR code there and let me know. Jamar Chase at 61.5 receiving yards. I will say, probably still too low for him, even with this concern, because I mean, he's a game breaker. He just needs one. So last year with 100 or less air yards, he was still over this in 8 of 12 games. Obviously, Joe Burrow effect. But if we go and filter out games against teams that allow low yards per completion, still dominated. If we go and look at games who were against defense who were good after the catch, still dominated. So I think this line might be an overcorrection to the matchup, but it's not a good matchup. And then, yep. I think we only have one. I'm going to leave the Sunday night game for me and JJ to talk about. Then we got 49ers and Buccaneers. A lot of the stuff I talked about with Egbuka or with McMillan earlier applies to Egbuka. So let's go look at that. Actually, even more so to Egbuka, but still. So in the last 2 weeks without Mike Evans, Egbuka has had 6 targets of 20 or more air yards, 11 targets of 10 or more air yards, 16.4 air yards per target. If you look on this list of people, of guys who are consistently getting 10 yards or 10 plus air yard targets, that 16.4 number is high. So he's getting downfield targets and he's getting a lot of them. That's what you want to see for a yards prop. Of his, how many targets has he had? Of his 17 targets, 11 of them have been past 10 yards. That's really, really good. If we want to go look at his air yards. In the 2 games that Mike Evans, he's had 131 and 148 air yards. Guys, this usage is nuts. I'm telling you. His routes run up there. Those are sky-high numbers. Targets of 15 or more air yards. 4 in each of the last 2 games. 3 in every game this season. This is a rookie. These numbers should be getting better and better. And the fact that they're already this high is scary. I'm talking Justin Jefferson as a rookie type of like eye-opening stuff. And I've been on the boat of like, oh, we can't expect all rookie receivers to be like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. We got to give them time. I think he's correcting me on that. Yards per completion is low for this matchup, I will say. However, air yards per game is very high, which means one of two things. Either they have been getting very lucky on quarterbacks missing their deep shots, which I don't think it's going to be the case because he's brought in 6 of his 8 deep targets the last couple weeks. So the accuracy connection between him and Baker is there. Or 2, they're just forcing a lot of bad quality throws. However, if you watch this Igbuka kid, bro, he's catching. I don't want to say they're difficult ball. Like they're still technically on target, but they're not easy throws or easy catches, and he's just snagging them and running as if it's like perfectly in stride. He's got a nice frame, and he knows how to use his hands. And I know you can pretty much say that about any NFL wide receiver. Like you don't make it to the NFL with bad hands. But it's the eye test. That's all I can say. When he faces teams that allow a lot of air yards so far, it's only been weeks 1, 2, and 5? Yeah. 67 yards in your first game as a rookie is pretty nuts. I need to look up his actual line, so that's what I'm basing it off of. I'm telling you, I played his longest reception already at 24.5. He's at 72.5 yards. Let's see if his longest reception prop is still there. It's 26.5, 27.5 on other sites. This Houston game, that was with Mike Evans. He had 81 air yards. He still had 3 deep targets. If we want to look at other outside receivers, Devontae Adams got 88. Puka Nacua moves around, but he got 85. Brian Thomas, 49, still led his team. Marvin Harrison, 44. That was the game where we saw he still had 90-plus air yards. And when you look at, too, the quarterbacks that the Niners have faced, like I said, they're either facing quarterbacks that are just not hitting their deep targets, like they're inaccurate throws, or it's just really great. They're baiting them into these deep throws and playing great defense. When you look at the quarterbacks they played, Matthew Stafford got Nacua and Adams 85 each. Trevor Lawrence has been average on deep targets. Kyler Murray has been one of the least accurate deep ball throwers in the NFL this year. Same with Spencer Rattler. I think they were both like bottom 8 in the NFL. Sam Darnold has been good. But Sam Darnold has been good. Fucking Jackson Smith-Njigba got 124 receiving yards. What does that tell you? This is as big of a smash spot as you can ask for a rookie wide receiver. Not gonna lie. Like this usage is unbelievable. I'm happy with this matchup. 3 targets at 15 yards in every single game, bro. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. All right, who else in this game? We know Ricky Pierce was out. I can't remember if we know for sure the status of Juwan Jennings. Okay, Underdog just tweeted something out. What was it? No, that's not helpful. Lions downgraded Taylor Decker and Avonte Maddox to out for Sunday night's game against Kansas City. Darnell Mooney is out for week 6. Oh, if Darnell Mooney is out, what's Drake London's lines? If we can snipe one. Minus 145, still too low. I'm going to go grab that. I'm going to go grab that right now. It's Monday Night Football. I don't care. That is it. Let's go research that right now while we're at it. Let's do it. Drake London and GameStop Darnell Mooney. You guys are going to like what we're about to see. I promise you. Let's see. Is this updated yet? No. Oh. Without Darnell Mooney, 8 receptions. Tampa Bay. 15 targets. 15 targets, guys. Holy shit. I'm probably laddering this, actually, now that I think about it. There weren't any games without Darnell Mooney last year. Hold on. Okay, there was one. 10 receptions on 18 targets. That's 33 targets in 2 games without Darnell Mooney. That's so many. And this is his rookie season, I believe. I'm laddering this, actually. This is a ladder. Plus 120 on DK. Let me just do this. This is easier. Plus 120 DK, plus 205 DK, plus 304. That's actually crazy that the difference between these is 85 cents. I wish it wasn't against the fucking Bills, but we take what we can get. No Darnell Mooney in 2 games with Penix, and without Mooney, he has had 33 targets. Should be used similarly to how Diggs was used when he dominated the Bills last week. It's actually such a nuts line. I gotta go lock this in. I'm pissed I missed out on the minus 105 line earlier because I wasn't sure if he was going to play or not. That would have been free. All right, where is this game? Here we go. I'm going to have a big Monday Night Football card. This is a great Monday Night Football slate. I'm not going to lie to you guys. For betting, at least. Like, Bijan should have a huge game. Josh Allen rushing is going to be in a great spot. Where is receiving? Yeah, there's no alternate reception props. I need to put units. How many units am I putting on plus 205? I'll put 25, 0.25 units. No, I'll put 1. Yeah. And I'm sending this out to subs now. So for you guys who are in here, you get to, that's a free play that you guys get before anybody else does. If I can figure out how to screw it. Need to add a picture now. Oh, hold on. That was almost a mistake. I almost put the odds for 8+ receptions for 7+. All right, so Drake London over 5.5 receptions. You can ladder 6.5 at plus 120 as well. That's what I'm gonna do. And when was the Drake London or the Darnell Mooney news came out 15 minutes ago. How much did this line move when that news came out? So 18 minutes ago was what time? 2:02. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, well, actually, it was the same line when he got ruled out. That's surprising. I mean, I'll take it. London receptions. There we go. We're locked in. All right. Let's continue on. Who are we looking at? Oh, 49ers and Buccaneers. So, talked about Ibuka. Rachaad White. Let's check what his usage was like last game. So last game, he had 4 receptions and 14 rush attempts. That's phenomenal usage, by the way. Good on him. His lines are set at 58.5 rushing yards, 15 rush attempts. Probably fair. Feel like there's probably more value in the receptions, but let's see. I forgot the 49ers play a light box, but they play, it's like a good box. Wow. 124 to ETN, 65 to Kyron, 100 to Kamara, only 22 to James Conner. But in that James Conner game, Trey Benson went for 42. That was a disaster Seattle game week 1. I remember that. And on the ground, I should say. I'm admittedly not a believer in the 49ers rushing defense. So, in terms of playing teams with a light box, this Chargers game, he got 15 attempts against the light box and had, let me get this out. I don't know why that should change anything. So in the 15 and 10 rush attempts in these 2 games with light boxes, 4.9 yards per carry, a little bit over 4. That's kind of what we need here. So that's good. And then if we want to check 2023 against a team with a light box, with 10 plus rush attempts. And what was it? 60. Let's put 59.5 yards. Does pretty damn well. So I like this spot for Rachaad White as well. He should have a good game. And then on the 49ers side, Ricky Pierce was out. I was going to Twitter to check on Jauan Jennings, and then I saw the Darnell Mooney news. So let me go back to that. Traylon Burks to visit the Broncos. Don't really care. Let's go. We got JJ posting pictures of the site too. That's fire. Fire. I love it, JJ. All right, let's go check Jauan Jennings. Oh, that's some atrocious spelling. Jauan Jennings listed questionable for week 6. I feel like he's going to play. I think I remember Ricky is out. Yeah, Ricky Peterson listed out for week 6. Jauan Jennings questionable. And then Mac Jones going to be there, not Brock Purdy once again. So let's even see if we have Jauan Jennings lines 50.5 only on 2 books without Ricky Pierce, so that's probably free if he plays. So of his 19 targets this season on 94 routes run, only one of them have been a deep target, 9 of them intermediate, or 8 of them have been intermediate targets. So you're probably looking at receptions unless they're really bad after the catch. Fifth most yards per reception in the NFL. That's interesting. Air yards per game is low. Yards after reception. Oh, so yards, they're bad. They're very bad after the catch. That works in Jennings' favor, both as for receiving yards and receptions. They haven't projected fairly low here. If we look at wide receiver ones, and let's look at Devontae Smith. This is touchdowns. I was like, what? JSN cooked him. Devontae Smith only 29 yards. Garrett Wilson probably more of a deep target, 84. Ray McLeod had 51. God damn. Nothing standing out like crazy, I will say. Played 3 games. 5, 10, and 4 targets. These 4 targets, I think a lot of them came without Ricky Pearsall in the second half. I'm not that enticed. But then him playing hurts Kendrick Bourne and Demarcus Robinson, so we can't target that either as long as they're playing. Christian McCaffrey is Christian McCaffrey. We can go look into him as well. Oh, why is it not showing Christian McCaffrey here? We got to fix that. Right, let me go back here. Those are the little things, guys, that if you're using the site, please, if you see stuff like that, don't be like, oh, this is weird. That, like, I don't know why that's an issue. And then move. No, let me know so I can get the feedback and we can fix it. Either DM me or we have an email, support@mcanalytics.com. Email either of those, just let me know and we'll get it fixed. I promise you. As far as run defense, their run defense has been absolutely ridiculous this season. That's what why I got it wrong earlier when I was talking about 2024, because I just assumed it was the same thing. But no, Tampa Bay's run defense has been unbelievable this year, and San Francisco's offensive line has been atrocious this year. So for McCaffrey to have a 55.5 line with the usage that he has is absolutely insane. Less than 3.2 yards per carry in every game except one, and that was against the New Orleans Saints. It has not been good for the 49ers. For him to have 17 rush attempts in every game except for one and only break 60 yards once, not to break 70 yards a single time, when he's Christian fucking McCaffrey, tells you how bad this offensive line has been. In the run game specifically. So having this bad of a matchup, what's his rush attempts line? This says 80.27 yards. I'm not buying it. So do what you will with that information. But I didn't cover the what's it called? I'll go back to the big screen. I didn't cover the international game. I didn't cover Sunday Night Football because me and JJ are going to make a video about those too soon. But one last time, guys, appreciate everybody who tunes into these streams. Again, we do them for you guys, obviously. But if you haven't joined the website, you probably haven't because this is the first day we're live. Go do it. Go scan that QR code or just DM me and I'll send you the link. Data that you can't find anywhere else and ways to use them that you can't find everywhere else. I am so excited to be able to finally share this project with you guys. I've been working on it for a long time. Again, this isn't a company paying me for anything. This is my website that I built out for you guys. So please, I want you guys to use it. I want your feedback. Just let me know. Shoot me a message and I'll get it to you. Other than that, I am going to call it a stream. Thank you to everybody for tuning in and probably going live again soon. So take care, everybody.